jury's still out. But man, you can't deny that view.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to It Can't Be For Nothing, our Last of Us HBO review show, guys. My name is Kyle, your host. Thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. This is episode 2. If you guys watched the first episode, thank you for checking out the channel. Thanks for checking out the content. Appreciate you stopping by. I really liked the first one, the first pilot, but I thought it was missing something. I was going on like Twitter the next day, guys, and on Reddit, and everyone's like, oh my god, Last of Us, Last of Us, Last of Us. Everyone couldn't believe it. They were calling it like the best episode of TV. And I was like, is it me? Is something going on, guys? But I can say that this second episode, guys, the way everyone was feeling about the pilot, I felt this way about the second episode. I was blown away by this episode. If you haven't seen the show before, obviously go check out the other content, guys, of course. But what I'm gonna do, unlike most of my other reviews, guys, where I go through like a favorite character, least favorite character, for this one, I'm just gonna kind of give my thoughts. I'm gonna include a couple scenes that are straight from the video game, which is a lot less in this second episode, but there's still some big things and some things I was so impressed at. And then just kind of my overall thoughts, guys, and then the score out of 10. So absolutely blew me out of the flooded water of the hotel, guys. Can we talk about the hotel scene? Dude, I could not believe how they were able to perfectly recreate that hotel, that flooded hotel. It's insane. And watching this show is such a trip because I like know the environment so well that I'm like when they're going through the museum and Joel's going through like the Bostonian Museum and he goes open that door. I'm just like, Joel, we can't go in there, dude. There's 2 clickers in there. I know that there's 2 clickers. And then like even the effect of like the room behind them like collapsing and Tess and Ellie have to dive out of the way. I thought that was awesome because I was like, oh my god, they even have like the rooms that you can't get into. And remember, guys, like Joel and Tess and Ellie like have to separate because in the gameplay like you can't get through there and the thing collapses. So I just thought that was so awesome to recreate. I'm just so blown away by just how well they're able to take literally these iconic scenes from the game and put them directly into the show, and then just how amazingly accurate it is, dude. Like the second we were in that flooded hotel, I was like, I can't believe this. And when she's like walking through the water, she mentions she can't swim, and Joel's like, really? He's like, it's not that deep, dude. And she's like, well, how was I supposed to know that? And it's like, oh, how are they going to deal with Ellie not being able to swim? Because obviously in the game you get a pallet and she jumps on a pallet. It's like, how do you do that in person? So I thought that was really, really interesting. And this show just absolutely, I could not believe how much of an event, how much of an experience that was, guys. Now, full disclosure, I just got these new Govee lights. I'm not sponsored by Govee, guys, but these lights that I have it set up to react to sound, and you can choose the colors. So I have like white and dark and red, and it was really cool. It definitely added to the experience. So I'm not gonna say that didn't help, but this quality was outstanding. I was on the edge of my seat, dude. And it's so crazy that a show that I know every single thing is going to happen, for the most part, they changed a couple things, a couple really interesting things they thought. And I was still like so tense, dude. And let me say, guys, the way they opened this episode, I mentioned the pilot, how like I thought it was kind of goofy and it wasn't really feeling like Chernobyl, and how Chernobyl was like right away disaster and right away quality. This felt like Chernobyl, dude. The fact that they're not doing spores, but they're doing like this cordyceps, these like tendrils. Oh my god, dude, the effects are incredible, and it's so gross. Like, it's so like, ooh. It's a little like, kind of like Symbiote, right, with Venom, except like way cooler and a lot better. But like when they bring in that doctor, and she's like, I'm sorry, you must have the wrong person. And the guy is like, oh, you're this person, right? And you study whatever, the cordyceps. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, we have the right person. Bring her in, and they're like, look at this like sample. And then she's like, oh, okay, this is cordyceps. But she's like, but why did you prepare it this way? And he goes, well, that's standard procedure for any samples from a human. And then it's like, oh shit. And so they go into the room, guys, and then there's that woman that's naked on there. He's like, the lower left leg or whatever. And then like the effects, the makeup effects team, dude, unreal. Like when it like the bite looked nasty, and she turns it over, and she's got the full hazmat suit on, obviously, and then she like cuts it, and just like the way it cuts, it's so like, ugh, it's gross, and it made me feel so uncomfortable, but it was so well done, and they're like you can tell she was like, this isn't good. And then I just love how they go back to the scene and they say, okay, we need a vaccine, we need a medicine. And she's like, dude, I don't think you understand. She's like, I've studied cordyceps my entire life. And she's like, who bit her? Like, what's going on? And they said she was a normal coworker, and she all of a sudden became violent, and then she attacked 3 other people, and she bit them, and then they went out there, and then she's like, okay, is anyone else missing? And he's like, yeah, 14 other coworkers. And she's like, oh my God, and she starts shaking. And he's like, yeah, we need a medicine vaccine. And she's like, I don't think you understand. There is no medicine. There is no vaccine. He's like, so what do we do? And she goes, bomb. She goes, you need to start bombing this city and everyone in it. And she's like, please bring me home because I want to be with my family. And it was so powerful. And it was like, oh my God, dude, like this thing is so out of control. It's spreading so quickly and it's so violent. And the fact that it's like, when you hear that number 14, it's crazy, dude. And I think what this show is doing so well is definitely playing with the sense of, or really showcasing that sense of like real fear and scale. And like in this episode, I was like, wow, in the video game you're going through and like the buildings look great and everything looks great, and you're still like scavenging through every like inch and corner, and it's still like terrifying for each one, like each corner and stuff. But when they're going through Boston and they're trying to get Ellie to the Fireflies that they think are at the Capitol building, and how great did the Capitol building look, dude? I mean, obviously that was incredible. I wish they kind of would have waved. I wish it was flooded outside like it was in the game, guys, and then they waved through the water, but it's okay. I'll take that. I'm sure that would have been very hard to do, but my one little nitpick here for me, but when they're like, first of all, they showed like the hive mind. These clickers or the infected have a hive mind in the show, which I think is so awesome, dude, and such a great twist. And I love how they didn't go exactly beat for beat, but she's like, hey, I just want to let you know, I think Tessa's telling Ellie, she's like, I just want to let you know that like, if you shoot one clicker, which we see in the episode, or like you attack one clicker, it, cordyceps, or you step on a nest or something, and she's like, all of them know. And so it's like kind of like Stranger Things, dude, where it's like hive mind, and it's like she's like they're all coming running, and at the end we see that, guys, where there's literally one clicker in the Capitol building, and Joel obviously shoots it in the head, and then it like triggers the rest of them, and so all of the infected that are over like the hundreds or whatever that are over on the other side of town, they come sprinting towards her, and that's when Tess makes the sacrifice. Every single building, right, is terrifying. And like even when they go in and they say, like, Joel's like, oh, this is bone dry, and they're like, oh, maybe there's no more infected in here, and then they see what the clicker did to that guy. The clickers looked great. I thought the effects were really great. I thought the movements were really good. That it's the same sound as the video game. Like the people who make that sound, apparently it's not computer generated. They came back for the show, which is perfect, because if the clickers had a different sound, it wouldn't work. I thought that it looked great, and I thought their movements were great. I thought there were a couple times where it was like a little wonky, like it was like, oh, you can tell there's like a human there, and they had like crazy makeup on. But like I almost would have liked that to be CG, but overall, I thought it was incredible, and I thought the scene where they're hiding from the clickers is amazing, and I was like, oh my God, this is so good, dude. And it's just crazy because this was 53 minutes or so of like absolutely on the edge of my seat gripping television, and I knew pretty much everything that was going to happen going in. And that's what's insane, is that they changed a little bit, like the hive mind and things like that, but I knew Tess was going to die. I was a little confused at the end when she like kind of let the infected come at her, but I also understand that we know how quickly she turns, and we don't know how much time has passed, like, but she got bit like at least a half hour ago, and I know she got bit, it said in the first episode, guys, like head, like torso or neck area is like 1 to 2 hours, I think. So she's already like at least half turned, right? So that's why she's like, I don't have time, and that's why she's shaking. So I initially was like, oh, it's kind of dumb that she's just standing there, like, and then like it like lets the infected like kind of like make out with her and like transfer the cordyceps, which, God, the cordyceps look so gross. It's so perfect, dude. I hate it every time, but I secretly love it because it looks great, and it's so much creepier and disgusting than like the game version. But I was like, oh, that's kind of dumb. But then I was like, oh, you know what, dude? think about how quickly they say you fully turn if you get bitten in like the neck area within like 2 hours. So think about like going from a normal human to like complete infected. Like you have no idea what's even going on. So I thought that was great, and she obviously gets like the match at the very end there and drops it and sacrifices herself. She just like threw the grenades down, and I was like, bro, wait till Joel and Ellie are out of the room. Like she knocks over the gas, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then she just like knocks over a bunch of grenades, and they just all go rolling around. I'm like, dude, give them some notice. Thought that was great. I thought the Joel and Ellie stuff was great. I thought when Tess and Joel are interrogating Ellie at the beginning, she's like, oh, I didn't turn into a fucking monster. And I thought Bella Ramsey did such an amazing job in this episode of really feeling like Ashley Johnson's Ellie. And I know that they didn't want to copy it one for one, but it's obviously heavily inspired. And there's a couple of scenes where she sounds exactly like Ashley and she acts exactly like Ashley. And I was like, dude, unbelievable. Like I really was sold on Bella Ramsey as Ellie in this episode. And I thought Tess and Joel were great, and it's interesting because Joel and Ellie like don't really like each other, and now obviously they're going to like start to slowly form that bond. But I like was watching this episode and I was like, I wanted Pedro Pascal's Joel and Bella Ramsey's Ellie to get along better. But I know that like it takes time, and that's what makes the bond so special. Is that like over the course of the game, and in this case the season, they're gonna get closer and closer, and she's got to warm up to him. But I just thought that was great. I thought the line, the moment where she like pretends to turn for a second, like right after he's like, oh, she even twitches, like I'm gonna shoot her, and then she pretends to do that. I'm like, Ellie, you like, I know that's Ellie's personality, and she's a 14-year-old kid and she's crazy and that stuff, but it's like it didn't really work for me. But I thought everything else, guys, was just phenomenal. And like I said, just going through each building, and the clickers are so terrifying. And there's some tense moments in the game, obviously, but it's funny because when Joel like gets attacked, I'm like, Joel, shiv, like and it's crazy. They're going up the stairs, and then I was like, dude, this is literally exactly shot for shot. And I'm like, it's crazy because they're going up the stairs, and I'm like, I feel like I know exactly what the corner's gonna look like, and I know they're recreating it, but like to put all this into a show and have such high quality, I just thought it was excellent. And the music cues are hitting so hard, and I'm so excited. I keep forgetting like Nick Offerman is Bill, and I love how she's like, I love the big moments where Tess was like, she pulls away and it reveals the cut, and she's like, luck had to run out sometime. And I think for the most part, we are getting all of the big scenes. There's a couple of like dialogue choices that I don't like. One of my favorite parts of the first game, guys, before Tess dies, is that Joel says, it is over, Tess, and he like yells it. And in this one, Pedro Pascal said, it's over, Tess. Like he said it so casually, and I was like, I don't know why Neil went with that. Like I know he doesn't want to carbon copy it, but like the fans know, it's coming from the game. They know the big moments, they know the iconic moments, and it's like, I don't want an exact copy, but that was like one of the lines where I'm like, that seems like you should have done more takes on it. But again, just a little nitpick, guys. But I thought everything was great. We get the plank scene, dude, where, that was amazing, where he says, like, is this everything you would hope for? And, like, she's like, jury's still out. And, again, her line delivery on jury's still out, it was a little weird, like, a little quick, but that's just because we're so familiar with the material. But I thought, overall, that was incredible. And yeah, man, there was just so much to love in this episode. And this episode really sold me on the show. I really liked the first episode. I thought the first episode was good. I thought the second episode was great. And I couldn't believe how good this was, and I wanted more. And this was the one where I was like, the credits rolled, and I had full chills, dude, because they're playing the music. And I was like, I want to watch the next one right now. So, yeah, man, amazing episode. The cast was really great. Tess went out really well. Tessa's interpretation was a little bit different, but I thought it was really good, and I thought Tess was really well acted, and I thought she really kind of took Ellie under her wing a little bit, and obviously she gets bit off camera, but yeah, that's a big reveal at the end, and Joel's like, oh my god. But now it's like Joel and Ellie going forward, and it's like now the show really begins, and I love how this episode we got all the world building, the outbreak happening and all that. Like, I love how that's already established, but then I really loved how we opened it up this episode, guys. I really loved how we opened it up, and we had that moment where like, oh yeah, things are still normal at this point, and it's like at the very beginning of the outbreak, and I love how she's just like the city, and I was like, oh my god, and that had that dark feeling to it, where that had like Chernobyl vibes, where I was like, oh dude, this is not only is this worse than everyone thinks, but like it's too late, and it's crazy how quickly this happened, because he said, oh, it's been like 30 hours, and it's like, dude, everyone's already infected, and it's like it just shows you how quickly that spreads and how something would go obviously so out of control so quickly. And I know it's a little exaggerated, but yeah, man, incredible episode. If I had to give this one a score, guys, which I don't have to do, but I'm going to do because it's my show, this is a 9-8, guys. This is an incredible episode of television. I really was blown away at this. Line delivery for Bella on one or two scenes, line delivery for Joel. Joel and Ellie not getting along, but again, that's part of the story, so I can't even fault it for that. So very small things, but I thought this was overall an excellent episode of television. And again, this really sold me, guys, and just the scale. I mean, when I didn't even mention it, guys, when they go out to the buildings, you know, we see the buildings at the end of last episode, obviously with the building tilted, and I was wondering how they were going to do that, because like there's a big part of the first game, you're like going through the building and literally like it's sideways, and that's obviously so hard to do. I'm surprised they didn't like mess with the sideways camera at all. Walk outside and Ellie like looks out and she's like, wow, and you know the music's playing, and then like she looks up and she sees the buildings like leaning against each other, and she's like, is this what happened? Like they bombed this? And like, yeah, and like it worked here, but it didn't work a lot of places. And so it's like, damn, that's even sadder, because they just bombed a bunch of places trying to stop the spread, and it didn't even work. And it's crazy, dude, because I feel like there's side conversations in the game where they're like, oh yeah, they started bombing places, and it's sad and everything, and you see the like interactive optional dialogue and all that stuff. But I feel like it meant so much more in the show, which is crazy, because I thought the game is so well done. The game is such a masterpiece that it's so cool that like the show can expand on the world. But I thought that opening the episode the way they did, I thought was so perfect, because it really, again, brings you back to things are not completely destroyed yet, but also the severity and the thing that's getting, like, this lady knows right away, like when she said bomb, I initially was like, that's a weird choice, and then I like the gravity of it like kind of hit me, and I was like, oh my god. And I just love how she was like, yeah, we can't do anything, you have to bomb these cities with these people in it. When she said and everybody in it, I was like, oh my god, dude. And again, very Chernobyl-esque, and I was so happy to see that. So it just that like overwhelming dread and that sense of like hopelessness I thought was great. So man, I'm just blown away at the show, and I cannot wait for next week. Okay, guys, that's another episode of It Can't Be For Nothing. Thanks for checking out the channel, guys. Did you like the second episode as much as I did? Did you dislike it? Let me know in the comments, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, guys.
So is that everything you hoped for?
Jury's still out. But man, you can't deny that view.